We just failed to save Nikki from Swapnote from the Nintendo Ninjas. Let's recover and have a chat. With me, I have Brad, the mourner of the Master Core.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And Gerardo, the judicator of Team Magma Maxi.
Reluctantly, greetings.
And I'm Hunter, and I am also here. It's a sad day. Today, as of today, actually, like a few hours ago at time of recording, the Nintendo 3DS and the Wii U eShops are officially gonzo.
You will be very much missed. So I think we wanted to come together and wish it goodbye and reminisce over the years of fun that we've had with these two consoles. And also some of the not so fun things that we've had with these two consoles.
Some of the frustrating bits.
There's no console that did perfectly, and
the Wii U was definitely
remembering
one of them.
The Wii U in general is I would count amongst the things not necessarily worth remembering except for a few things. But I digress.
We are really missing a lot here because the Wii U, I guess technically the DSi kind of had like an online store with the DSiWare, but the Wii U was the first home console with an online marketplace for Nintendo. I know like other consoles have done that before from Sony and Microsoft, but
the Wii had WiiWare, and you know, they had the Virtual Console and the WiiWare stuff. It wasn't exactly a lot, except for Virtual Console. There was a lot of Virtual Console.
That's true.
But
yeah.
You know, it existed. And if you want to go real far back, I think the N64 in Japan did download things.
It had like a download kind of thing. You're right.
And
are you talking about Satellaview?
Maybe.
No.
And it might have been even further.
That was
I
the
think
SNES.
also did that too in
Japan. The SNES had
Yeah.
Satellaview.
Yeah, that was the SNES.
No, the GameCube did have like a weird online thing, I remember.
Yeah. So this is the first
for it.
time we've bid farewell to an online service from Nintendo.
Yeah, that is true technically with the WiiWare and the DSiWare, but I just feel like the eShop is the first one that like really came into its own, and they're still using that service for the Switch. And even one of the main ways that I was able to buy some games last minute on the Wii U and the 3DS was by adding funds through my Switch, because they all share funds because it's all the eShop. And I thought that was really cool. Like these three consoles all shared the same marketplace in a way. And there was even some games like the Mini Mario and Friends. No, one of those Mario vs. Bowser. Again. Yeah, Mario vs. Donkey Kong games where if you buy the game on the Wii U, you get like a 3DS copy for free, and they're really linked in that way. And it's stuff like that is gone now. I guess until Nintendo makes their next console, but for now it was just that. The Switch is on its own little island now. And
I remember, at least for a lot of the eShop, I did like the UI for it. I don't know. I don't like the UI for like the Xboxes or even like PlayStation or navigating through any of that. I did like Nintendo's.
So the Wii U was fine, but going back to the 3DS's was cumbersome. It was like scrolling through the different things because like the screen resolution was so small and stuff. So like it was a little unwieldy.
I remember having fun with it, just with the little guy that comes and helps you download your stuff. I just like the little animation of the little dude that like carries out all the little bits. Like an assembly factory. I think I had more fun with their UI.
And sometimes there was like some rare animations where like it would only drop one, or like a little other thing would come down instead, and then it would just like fall off instead of going inside the game.
It would make me mad because at the time it made me think that it wasn't downloading.
It was all working fine.
Yeah.
That's true. I think it's a shame that the Switch doesn't have that much stuff like it. Like when you open the shop on the Switch, it still has that like opening animation and like little jingle it plays.
Yeah.
With like the boxes going back and forth. But then like other than the special events where they'll have like the eShop be like Mario 64 themed.
Yeah,
Like when
Oh,
3D All Stars came out.
that was fun.
that's true.
I think in comparison, the Switch's shop is a little bit boring.
I agree. The Wii U, even at the loading screen for the Wii U, had a little game where you like are trying to hit the button at the right time to match the top, middle, and bottom part.
Yeah.
I actually, the first time ever I completed one was yesterday. I actually got all three to lined up for, I think it was actually the Smash 4 logo.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Speaking of Smash, that was it was a moment in time where all the stars aligned and we got to play two new Smash games within a 6-month time period. There were two mostly different games, almost completely different, with the story mode, I think. Well, I say story mode, it's not really a story mode, more like the single player activities you can do on the 3DS outshining the Wii U one. But most of my experiences with Nintendo on like their online service, the eShop, or just anything of that era was mostly through Smash.
Yeah, I bought my first 3DS just for Smash when it came out.
Really?
Wow.
Not for Pokemon?
I think I skipped X and Y. I think I came in when they made Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And then I played X later on, but I think that was the same year that Smash came out. I might be wrong about that.
I think all of us went to the Smash midnight release, I think, for both games.
We did, and
yes.
I have kind of a weird relationship with Smash 4, and that's why it makes it really sad that the DLC is now inaccessible. When that game first came out on the 3DS, I was able to... Actually, you know what? Before even that, I was at the E3 when it was announced, when that game was first announced, and then they were showing it off on the demo floor. So I got to like see Miyamoto and stuff on stage, and on stage on the treehouse set that they had there, and talk about it for a bit before starting a tournament for the demo that they had that day. So I entered the tournament, and I picked Wii Fit Trainer because it was one of the new characters. I want to try one of the new characters, you know. Mm-hmm. And I actually won. I got a T-shirt for it. I still have that shirt.
Nice.
I actually kind of bleach stained it a little bit. I need to like dye it or something back, but I have that shirt and it still says Smash for 3DS and Wii U on it. And then I got the demo early before anyone else.
Oh, that's the eShop. Right. I remember really hating you.
Yeah. I got the demo early, and then everybody else got the demo download on the eShop. And then the day before, we all went, because I still went with you guys, but I actually had the game the day before launch.
Yeah, I know. You just sat there playing it, and I'm like,
in line.
We're hours away from it, and he's just casually like, oh, look at the characters I'm unlocking. Hey, I'm playing Pac-Man. What are you doing? Oh, just the demo. Casuals. I'm like, this man.
I remember, me and actually Teresa, who's unfortunately not here, who actually also got the demo early. Both the two of us both got the demo early.
That's right.
And we both got the game early too. So we were both playing it with like each other sitting down right next to you guys in line for the midnight launch.
That was the first game that I actually got good at and really tried. It was good times.
I remember we did I think it was the next day maybe, where we did a tournament with
that's right.
With Robert and some other people were there too. I forget.
Yeah, we had a friend group.
Angela, a few people were there, and we did a Smash tournament, and you won.
Yeah,
when you had like only hours with the game at that point.
I was not. I didn't have a lot of class at the time, so every stock I would taunt. I remember making some people mad that night. It was
Robert stormed out of the house.
Yeah, I remember that. It was very fun, and I still appreciate having those bouts. Looking back, maybe I would temper the the gloating and and that sort of stuff. But
you gained some social awareness since, I think.
Yeah. I could gauge the temperature of the room a little better now. But yeah, and then when that was when the Wii U came out, and then I think the next 4 years, at least for the life cycle of the Wii U, that became my life was Smash on the Wii U.
And I remember there was a big debate after all the DLC launched, or as to whether or not, because Nintendo was doing a lot more things at the time that were less Nintendo-y and more mainstream, which I think a lot of people actually appreciated. And there was a lot of debate over whether or not they should do a special edition,
like an ultimate version with the DLC in it or something.
Yeah,
like
deluxe.
That.
Yeah, like a deluxe edition with the DLC included. And a lot of people said that they didn't want that because they spent all the money on the DLC, and that's what they appreciate about what they appreciate out of Nintendo is that they don't do that. But I really wanted that because I bought all the DLC on the 3D. I spent over $100 on that game with all the DLC, and it would be nice to not have to do that for the Wii U. And ultimately, they decided not to do that, obviously, as we know. And it's unfortunate because if they did do that, that would be the only way to play Smash with all of the DLC right now.
Yeah, that's true. Like, for preservation purposes, I think like Ultimate Editions are great.
Yeah.
Have everything all on one cartridge. Now, like, you can't go back and just download the characters. It's gonna be a lost, not necessarily generation, but like you'll never have the complete experience on those games if you buy them fresh now.
Yeah, I am slightly in both parties because, you know, I buy fighting games and I like to buy all the DLC for them as they come out, but and I don't want to pay for stuff that I've already paid for already, but you know.
But you don't want to not be an early adopter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I know that a lot of like all the DLC is technically there with Ultimate because Ultimate everyone is here, but they're still different games with different game modes and different onlines and different like Smash from Wii U is not the same as Smash from Ultimate. Those are two different clouds.
So when Ultimate first came out, I was saying that it was gonna be that like Ultimate Deluxe Edition. Like I was very much on the camp that this is gonna be a glorified port until that trailer dropped where it's like everyone is here, and I'm just like, I'm eating everything that I just said. My prediction sucks.
Yeah. I remember when we talked about that, and I'm so sad that you didn't. I was like, I'm willing to put down money that this is a brand new game, and then you guys were like, no.
Yeah, I was very much like, nah, Nintendo's gonna milk it because
they're different brands.
I was thinking they couldn't get those same characters for a sequel. Like, would they have to negotiate all this again?
But it would be the same thing as a new release, though.
I'm still shocked they got Snake back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could go on for hours when it comes to Smash.
I'm kind of surprised that they got Cloud back again. And Sephiroth following that, but that's a whole other story.
And
I'm surprised they had Banjo.
And Sora. My gosh.
Banjo.
Okay, now we're just gushing about Ultimate. Still, regardless.
Go back to the Wii U. I know the Wii U is forgettable, but we got to remember it for at least today.
I was gonna say, what you were talking about before, it might have been pretty close though, because that's what they did with Mario Kart 8. They just ported it and they've milked it.
Oh yeah, it has been just absolutely milked, and it was a great game on the Wii U, but they just added to it on the Switch, and they're like, new game, and I'm like, well, kind of.
On the note where you said that the Wii U is so forgettable, kind of like how people forgot about the Wii U as soon as it was even announced because they didn't recognize that it was even a new console.
Yeah.
It's not that they forgot, it just never clicked, and that was Nintendo's fault.
I think even for a long time I didn't really fully get it.
I didn't get it, and I follow this stuff like religiously.
Same.
And it took me at least a couple days before I'm like, oh wait a minute, that's a new console.
It took me a few months because I still followed it pretty heavily, but like I still just didn't fully understand like it's a new version of the Wii or something, or you can still get the U that'll work with the Wii or something. Like I didn't fully understand it until kind of Nintendo did some damage control after the fact and kind of explained their marketing a bit better. But even when I bought my Wii U, because the Wii U sales were so low at the time, where I got a new version of the Wii U on Nintendo's website, so their actual like online store, the special edition, the Zelda special edition, but they were doing that bundle with Wind Waker for less than the value of the actual console. I think it was like $100 or something.
Nice.
That is unheard of for any Nintendo product they sell. I'm pretty sure if I
on
go
their
get Link's
website
crossbow training, if I go get Link's crossbow training, it is full price.
I mean, they're not selling that anymore, but that's just the retailers.
They'll sell Wii Sports for full price if it was still around. And I mean, even their virtual consoles they sell for a lot more than I think they should be at the time for the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you could get a console for so much lower than the actual price that it was originally sold for.
A new special edition.
A special edition at that. For people who weren't watching those figures, like it was a bad time for Nintendo. Their stock was not doing well. I was gonna say the reason that Nintendo's still around, even through the Wii U drought, was because of the 3DS.
Yeah,
the 3DS single-handedly was a pillar that Nintendo stood upon and hoped wouldn't crumble, which it originally was going to because they priced it so poorly.
Losing the 3DS is the biggest crime here, because there's a lot of games that are completely gone now, DLC for games that are completely gone now. Just a lot of stuff from the DSiWare, because the eShop was the only way to get DSiWare games. Gone now. Just gone.
I think you have a running list of those games that are gone.
Yeah, I mean,
one at least at the top of the list for that one, the Pushmo series. I don't know where you go get any of those games now. They're just gone.
You can't, because there's no physical versions. And
that I'm aware of anyway.
The Dylan's Rolling Western games too. Like, I really like tower defense games, and those are like really weird tower, like third person tower defense type games. And those are all gone now. I think the third game had a physical release in Europe only, but the first two games are just gone. Just gone. You can't get them anymore. You can play the third game, but if you have a region-locked European 3DS, and of course it's marked up to all hell, but like, you can technically play the third game, but the first two games are gone forever.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. And it's going to be a running... People are going to find out over the course of time that there's going to be a lot of games just lost to time.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you yo-ho it yourself, but...
Yeah.
A lot of those physical games are going to go up in price too. For example, already the Box Boy trilogy was already expensive.
Yeah.
And it only got a physical release in Japan.
Yeah, it did.
With an amiibo.
Now,
I'm surprised I didn't
Boy,
include Box Boy in my videos. Love Box Boy.
I wanted to talk about the best 3DS games that you played on that system. And at least for me, I love Smash. Don't get me wrong, but at least on the 3DS, I think Kid Icarus Uprising is my favorite 3DS game.
My favorite games were probably the Bravely games, Bravely Default and Bravely Second, which aren't necessarily like lost to history in the same way that your pick isn't, but there was a demo. The demos for both of the games were pretty unique, but the demo for Bravely Second in particular had actually some pretty interesting story to it. And it actually has a story that, in a weird pseudo-canonical way, is the prequel to Bravely Second. It's now impossible to get that prequel.
Oh, and this is the demo that coincides with the story, right?
Yeah, that's the demo for the second game.
Oh, it's a good thing I downloaded that.
Good. Did you watch my video?
No.
Oh, what?
Sorry.
That video. Oh man, okay.
I was like scraping the eShop for like things that were like free or looked interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you get the Bravely Defaults?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Bravely Default has
well,
less
not
of a
the not the
story,
games. I
but
got the demo. I'll buy the
demo,
games
yeah.
physically at some point.
I
The
can
ones
let you
that are
borrow them if you
available.
want.
Yeah,
Do they have
that's-
DLCs?
No. Although
No.
Bravely Default, no. Yeah, I think it was Default, had a system to where you could gain an extra turn by putting your 3DS to sleep. So you put it in sleep mode and then you let it sit there, and it's called sleep points, kind of appropriately. You let your console sleep and then you get sleep points. You can have up to 3 of them, and it gives you a complete extra turn in combat. So it's really good to like save up for bosses and stuff like that.
Sounds like
And
cheating.
that's pretty cool.
it was cheating, and there was a way. This is one of those things about this game. Love the game. This is so stupid. Where you can get it, you can buy sleep points off the eShop. It's like $1 or something, so it completely ruins it.
Oh no!
I remember I told Gerardo that. He was like, "Oh no, it's such a cool idea," but they ruined it.
Yeah, it was unique up until it sounded like a gacha game.
Yeah.
In that sense, actually, Bravely Default got better after the 3DS eShop closed.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, it was. I hated that so much. I forget if they did that in Bravely Second. I know Second had a similar system because it was actually taken from the our version of Bravely Default is different from Japan's version of Bravely Default. They got a worse version, but then they upgraded it into the second version, separate from Bravely Second. That's a different game, but they made like Bravely Second version of Bravely Default, and then that's the version that we got out in the West. So it's a better version, and that's when they added the sleep point system. So I think that Second also has that system, but I forget some of the details there.
I don't like the naming conventions of those games. In
fact,
100%.
And Bravely Default 2 as the third game is stupid.
Yeah, I think Square Enix has a knack for just making bad names.
We've been talking about some of the DLC for games, and there's a lot of DLC now that's gone forever too.
Mm-hmm.
So like all of the Fire Emblem games on the 3DS.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird with those ones. Sometimes those DLCs actually added to the content in a more meaningful way, like more insight for a character, or you get like some other tangent side quest or something. But more often than not, it was like fight all these monsters and then just, level 1 to level 20 real fast.
Yeah.
Or here's just a bunch of gold.
Yeah, some of them were more so like either like gold or item farms, but then some of them were challenge maps. Mm-hmm. But some of them were definitely story things. And there was a lot of Fire Emblem Fates DLCs, which kind of linked the story between Fire Emblem Fates and Fire Emblem Awakening. Because there's a lot of characters in Awakening that are like the children and grandchildren and stuff of characters in Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of explains the link in that way. Otherwise, like, a lot of people are going to be really confused why there's a character named Odin, who is actually Owain, or the other way around. I forget. They just look exactly the same. And people aren't going to get it, the whole multiverse hopping deal.
I think one benefit of the eShop closing is Nintendo will not trick me again to purchasing 3 of the same game. I'm looking at you, Fire Emblem Fates.
So I got kind of lucky that I got the collector's edition when it came out, which included both stories and the third path, which you can get through DLC. But now, basically, the only reasonable way to get it was through DLC because those cartridges now are like hundreds of dollars online.
Yeah.
But now you can't. You have to buy the cartridge. You have to get the version with all 3 games on it. You have to get the collector's edition.
Either the collector's edition or you have to purchase 3 games separately that are probably exorbitantly priced.
They didn't make the third game its own cartridge.
Oh,
you have to get... No, they didn't. You have to get the cartridge with all 3 on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yo ho, pirate's life for me.
And on that note, there's a reason why a lot of people fly under the black flag is because Nintendo does stuff like this. like compared to when we were talking about how the like 360 shop is still online and all these different shops are still online. But like Nintendo basically shuts down their services as soon as, but not as soon as, but like in the middle of the next generation's life cycle when some people are still playing the Wii and people
Yeah.
still don't know what the Wii U is, but then they shut down the WiiWare. Like, and people are still enjoying their 3DSs. Like, I go out and I still get street passes. Like, people are just out still playing their 3DS, still getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. And I imagine that some of them are still buying games on the eShop because they were all still there.
Mm-hmm.
But now they have to be criminals in order to play some of those new games. It's crazy.
Yeah. Not advocating criminalness.
I think it puts an interesting perspective on the Switch's eShop because, like, how long ago did the 3DS eShop open?
2012?
2012, probably. So then, like, the Switch
2011.
came out. So then, like, the Switch came out in 2017. So that means we could see the Switch's eShop closing in 2028-ish.
So
that's 11 years.
In general, console life cycles are a lot longer. Like each generation of consoles lasts a lot longer than the previous generation. And nowadays,
except for this one, except for the Wii U,
except for the Wii U, but that was understandable.
Yeah,
the 3DS was fairly successful. I think, I'm assuming Nintendo will have like a different console out, and they'll want to do the same thing, like encourage people to move on to their next piece of hardware.
Yeah,
eventually, whenever that plan comes to fruition.
I don't know. I think that probably will happen shortly afterward. But I think that we still have quite a bit of time before that happens. I don't see the Switch going anywhere anytime soon. Most people within Nintendo, including like Doug Bowser and Miyamoto recently, still say that the Switch is still around halfway through its life cycle. I'm assuming towards the end of halfway, whatever that means, because they were saying the same thing a few years ago. But I think that they want to try to milk it for as much money as possible, because I think that they recognize that they kind of struck gold on an idea finally for the first time in a while.
At least for that, I guess they're going to have to define what halfway means, because they could be like 60-70% of the way. Does halfway mean till the next console gets launched, or like maybe the year or two between consoles, as it's already
think
launched?
They mean in between consoles.
The next one would already be launched. Like, I remember when the Switch launched, Nintendo like said like, oh, the Switch doesn't replace the Wii U and 3DS. It's like an additional option.
I remember them doing that.
Yeah.
That was a lie. It completely took it over.
That was true up until Breath of the Wild released on both consoles, and that was literally day one of the Switch.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was a launch title. They ran with it up until they're like, oh, by the way, like 90% of copies sold were on the Switch. Yeah, bye.
I think Breath of the Wild is technically the first or the last Wii U game from Nintendo.
Is it? I know that towards the end, like towards the last like year or so, there was a very bad dry spell for people who owned the Wii U. And for obvious reasons.
It's Zelda. So some other people have, like other publishers and stuff, released some games, but it was Zelda.
Yeah. Okay.
If you classify Breath of the Wild as like a Wii U game, then Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the first like true new mainline Zelda game for the Switch.
So Link's Awakening for Switch.
No, not like a remake or like.
I see.
Like
I know what you mean.
Spin-off.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
Like a big Zelda adventure. And I actually choose to believe that, because even in the Breath of the Wild game, you can quite clearly see that the Wii U was the inspiration for like all the handheld stuff, and the fact that it ran very well on the Wii U, and it was like it was built for the Wii U. I personally think that they brought up the launch of the Switch specifically because of the poor Wii U sales, and they lined it up that way. And that's why the Zelda I think it had like a longer development, and they pushed it back a few times so
Yeah.
that they could get it onto the Switch. But it is a Wii U game.
In some ways, but I think that the DLC, I forget, did the DLC come out on the Wii U?
I
thought
believe it did. Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, that's not going to be there anymore.
It's already
True.
gone.
Yeah.
You will now have a compromised Zelda experience.
Same with you really like Xenoblade, and Xenoblade
yes.
Chronicles X had the data packs because not the entire game wouldn't fit on the disc. So if you got the game digitally, then you have no problems. But if you got the game on disc, which is now the only way to get the game, you have to download the data packs. Otherwise, your game is gonna run super, super poorly.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna be running at like 5-10 frames a second in some parts because like just from now on, as of today, if you buy a new copy of Xenoblade Chronicles X, you're going to have a worse time.
I remember when I first played it, I didn't download it initially just because I wanted to see, and yeah, it was unplayable. That game just does not work. And and that was a very lengthy download too. I remember people complained because it took up all the space. It was almost like just downloading the entire game twice over. It was a big download.
Yeah.
That was back when I think the Wii U launched with 32 gigs of memory. That was it.
Yes.
8.
No, it's 30.
Eight.
Oh, it launched with 8, but then later
launched
models
with 8.
had 30. Like mine has 32.
The
deluxe.
white one has 8, and the black one has 32.
I forgot it was that low, and that was the 8 gigabytes gets you nothing.
Yeah. You can use external hard drives and stuff though. Like I have like a 256 gig flash drive plugged in, like a one of those small little ones plugged into the back of it, and that's how I was able to download a lot more.
This was before a time where like those things were expensive at the time. Now it isn't. Now I could probably get 2 terabytes and it's probably fine, but
and still slow
supported.
Because the Wii U only supported USB 2.0. So it was literally slower than the internal hard drive.
That was going to take forever just sitting on a loading screen.
Yeah. It's not great. Although, I mean, it's been fine so far. I've been playing a couple of games in the Wii U. It's not that bad. But the Wii U in general just had really, really slow load times. Even just to boot the console took forever. And loading the eShop actually lately. Maybe it's just because of all the traffic going on in the eShop in these final weeks here, but whenever I hop on the Wii U eShop, it's just super slow. The 3DSs is fine.
I find the 3DS is pretty slow too. Anytime you select anything, it goes to a loading screen.
I think that's always been the case though. Nintendo's never had the best online as a rule. I think it was like 6 months ago I read an article that they were actually upgrading like their servers and stuff on the back end.
Oh.
But like some of the stuff they were upgrading dated back to the 90s. Like it was not pretty. And I'm like, that sounds like Nintendo.
They're just one of those companies that have a really old-fashioned way of thinking. And I think that a lot of that is due to some of the leadership there. Who's the new president of Nintendo Japan? Furukawa. He was a very when we looked at his background, he was a very business-esque guy. Yeah, and I think that he is really pushing a lot more like modernization in the who's it? Omori? No, hang on. Who was the
They had a temporary president, I thought.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name. Kimishima.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool name.
Kimishima, I remember when he came in and he was doing a lot of things that I really liked. I mean, granted, a lot of that was probably under Iwata's like development process, like the Switch and stuff like that. But honestly, I was really happy with a lot of the more pro-consumer things that Kimishima was doing at the time, like a lot of modern stuff. And then Furukawa came in and he seems to be doing a very deeply rooted just purging of all of the ancient practices that Nintendo has been doing.
Yeah.
Which I think is very, very much needed.
Do any of those practices kind of coincide with the Wii U and 3DS? Is that like alluding to that era?
I think so. If I remember correctly, there were with the 3DS, like he put a lot of like while he was president, a lot of games, the base price of a lot of games fell. And then he also did the that was also when they started doing the Nintendo Selects thing, and I don't know how much of that might have been the like I'm giving Kimishima a lot of credit for a lot of things, but I don't know if it was all necessarily Kimishima, or if a lot of different parts of Nintendo felt like they were able to accomplish more after Iwata.
During the dark times of Nintendo, during the Wii U times, Nintendo was taking such a hit that I think it was, in order to avoid losing staff, Iwata took a pretty substantial pay cut.
Yeah.
That kind as of like a sign of making sure that the employees weren't going to get hurt.
That's true. I remember.
Yeah, that kind of stuff happens a bit more commonly in Japan, though. I think that's a really big shock to us in the West, but because not a whole lot of Japanese like business news hits us necessarily, but because we're a lot more plugged in with Nintendo stuff, at least this group is, we got that news and we were all really shocked about that. But that's more of a practice that just happens in Japan sometimes.
Well, over here they leave, but they take a big payout.
They give themselves a nice severance package.
They give themselves a nice severance package, and then they jump ship
and keep their stocks.
Yeah, and keep their stocks, or just sell them before they go down.
Yeah, or that. But I mean, it's nice to keep getting those residuals. Oh yeah.
Well, okay. Well, going back to some of the other topics that we were talking about, I want to discuss what our favorite memories of this era of gaming was for at least Nintendo fans. I think I already kind of discussed mine, and it's straight up, it's Smash Brothers, and it was all throughout my college years. But while I was busy playing Smash, what were you guys doing?
I got the 3DS and Wii U late into their life cycles, so I guess for me it would be mostly just I really enjoyed the Street Pass, taking my 3DS with me to college every day and getting Street Passes, and then doing the Find Me and the puzzles. I remember finishing all the puzzles was really cool.
I actually really enjoyed the Street Pass functionality.
Yeah.
That really actually made it feel like a community of like 3DS and Nintendo like individuals, like Nintendo lovers. Like, it was always cool to go around, and also like to collect special people too, because there was the special gold pants people that were reserved for Nintendo, like employees and like special individuals.
Yeah, I got like a Reggie me at least once, I remember. And those just, I don't know, it was a unique thing to get. It was cool.
I have Reggie on mine too.
You know, if you go to like the same place every day, you'll run into the same Miis every day, and maybe you kind of look at the me and like look at the people around you and be like, could that be that person? Just like someone you never interact with, just like in real life, but you street pass them every day because you have like classes like people watching near each other. I just think that was a really cool feature. And the 3DS and Wii U had like these weird like quality of life, like unique features to their respective systems that I think the Switch kind of lacks a lot of.
I can name at least the themes as being a major thing that that was fantastic on the 3DS and really made it feel like this was my console, that for some reason the Switch only gives me black and white and folders.
Oh, they added they added in a patch like last year it wasn't like exactly folders, but you can like add games to this like
you can
list
sort them.
Thing. Yeah.
It's like a
it's not
different
fun.
thing. No,
yeah, it's not
the same
fun.
thing.
I don't use it that much. But with the themes, I remember there was this one theme for the 3DS. It was like one of my favorite ones, where it was based on the Dreamcast.
I got that one after you told me about it.
Oh,
yes,
that's fun.
And the theme had like it was like a joke, like against the Dreamcast, but it's just like a fun little sucker punch to the Dreamcast, I guess, where when you have the theme equipped and you put your 3DS in sleep mode and then open it, it plays like audio of like a Dreamcast like starting up, where you can hear like the disk drive grinding because it's very loud for some reason on the Dreamcast. And then you can hear the VMU for the Dreamcast starting up, because when the VMU doesn't have a battery in it, and you have it plugged into the controller and it starts up, it just does this beep as like its startup sequence that's like really loud and obnoxious. So it plays the grinding and the beep when you open the 3DS, and I just think that's just a really fun thing.
That I would consider that to be a jab.
Their own little dig at the console.
Yeah.
At their competitor's console.
It's not even a competitor. They're already out of the market. It's just beating them when they're down.
Yeah.
This is mean.
It's the legacy of the Sega, dude.
It's already dead. What do you want?
But yeah, the themes were cool, and they'd have those cool backgrounds. I think one of the favorite things that they had for me was the music that they would play just in the home menus, because that would be a lot of the reason why I would buy a specific theme. I would check to see what song it plays while the theme is active on your home menu, and a lot of times it'll be like a song that I really liked from that game. So then I'd get the theme just to have that song playing when I'm using my 3DS.
And not just the music too, like some of the sound effects, like as you're clicking left and right, and also the shape and the design of the folders would sometimes change.
Yeah.
Like
I'm like the default system apps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Where is this level of creativity, Nintendo, with the Switch?
The Switch's UI in general almost feels inferior to the 3DS's, at least, and the Wii U, because the 3DS in particular had the ability to like kind of zoom in and zoom out on your home screen.
Yeah.
But the default state, the most zoomed in state, is basically the way that the Switch is.
Yeah.
Which is the worst way to
forever.
use. Yeah, and it takes forever to like go all the way. At least you get to like only do that 10 times, but then you're looking at a massive list that you can only sort through for all your games. But like the ability to customize was on both the 3DS and the Wii U. And the 3DS, like it's literally like the Nintendo Switch's UI is basically the worst way to use the 3DS's UI. But the 3DS at least had the option to make it like a grid layout.
Yeah.
That's true. When you zoom in and zoom out, like going back and forth like that on the 3DS, having it very zoomed in feels very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I have it set to 3, so you can have like 3 rows.
So that's another little level of detail that I wish Nintendo brought back for like the Switch. When you were hovering over your little games and it has like a little icon on the top screen, and it's like it's like a little animation or like a trophy that you'd see in Smash Bros. Or something like that, where it's just like that little extra tidbit of like, hey, we put some care into how we present this game.
Yeah.
Versus the Switch, which is just like, here's like this PNG.
Yeah, and then if you blow into the microphone, it like spins around.
Yeah, sometimes they'd have like little animations that actually plays just for that.
It just feels like the 3DS in general, maybe less so the Wii U, but the 3DS in general, it felt more like a labor of love than the Switch does. And I know the Switch, at least the eShop, has a way better UI and it's way faster, and the searchability is way better. Like there are some games on the 3DS that I know I spelled perfectly, but I still wasn't able to get to the game. I had to like look up the publisher and then put the publisher's name in and get it that way. So like the searchability wasn't great on the 3DS. But in general, I feel like the Switch feels less, it almost feels like more professional and doesn't have as much heart, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the charm is not there anymore. So as a general rule, I enjoyed my Wii U, but if you were to count the hours that I had on each game, I guarantee you I was in the tens of thousands for Smash Brothers, and
tens of thousands,
because I took it everywhere, and also it wasn't just me; it was other people running this machine constantly when I took it to tournaments.
True,
so
yeah.
At some point, I got so dedicated to Smash for the Wii U that I was going around all of Southern California playing at at venues and going to tournaments and like just generally gaming with the SoCal like the scene, that my Wii U just became a dedicated Smash Bros. Console, and that was it.
I'd like to
I
see how many hours you put in. Sorry, because the Wii U records playtime, so I'd like to see what your number is at.
Tens of thousands is a lot.
It is a lot. I might be exaggerating. However, also to keep in mind, I was not only gaming on my console, I was gaming a lot on other people's, because all tournaments do that as well.
I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just genuinely curious.
It just felt like you were calling me out there, man.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Like I've just it just surprises me sometimes. Like I've looked through like my friends list on the Switch, and I came across this person that had 2,000 hours in Fortnite.
Well, I mean that is a popular game.
I have a friend from high school. She has over 3,000 hours in Splatoon 2, and she's getting up there in Splatoon 3 now.
Nice.
And all she does is play Splatoon.
Well, it was 5 years of my life. All I did was play Smash.
Yeah. All you did was Smash for 5 years.
I am not joking. It was the one
going around Southern California.
Yeah.
Brad is
I was going all around Southern California smashing people.
And it was fun when Smash Ultimate came out, because up until the day before technically that Smash Ultimate launched, my Wii U had never had a Smash U disc in it until you brought your copy over and put it in my Wii U. And because it was going to take several like tens of hours to download all of the data for it, we just decided to play vanilla like day one Smash Wii U, because that's all. Do you remember that?
Yeah, all the broken combos and stuff that wasn't patched out, and Diddy Kong just being generally a nuisance, and Mario having his absolutely broken down throw to up air or to up tilt,
and at that time
like 4 or 5 times.
And at that time, I really didn't know how to play many other characters aside from, at least not effectively, aside from Cloud. So I was just like getting wrecked the entire time with a super broken game.
I was gonna say, I have one other memory that from the 3DS that like you can give or take as it being salty or not, but I'm not sure if anybody else here is in a special place like I am with Nintendo, with the loving relationship that I have with Nintendo. But they made me their official ambassador to the 3DS.
Is that what that means?
Yes. I have to justify having that title somewhere. Okay.
I think that they purposefully over-glorified the name ambassador for that reason.
You gotta stick that on your LinkedIn, Brad.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. Nintendo ambassador. Ex-Nintendo ambassador.
I'm doing that right now, actually. That is a fantastic idea. I'm not looking for a job anytime soon. Let's do it. Official Nintendo official member of the Nintendo Ambassador Program.
Just say, technically you still have it, right?
Yeah, I can pull it out anytime I want.
So for context, when the 3DS launched, there wasn't a whole ton of games on it, and even a lot of developers were kind of deciding to not make 3DS games in lieu of like DS games, because the DS was still selling super well. And like including Pokemon, like I remember Black and White came out while the 3DS was still out.
1 or 2?
1, the first games.
Really?
Black and White 1 came out while the 3DS was still out. And 2, obviously. But they that's just kind of how poorly it was selling when it first came out. And Nintendo felt so bad where they did an actually kind of uncharacteristically un-Nintendo thing to do, pro-consumer thing to do, where they allowed people to download this ambassador program app thing, which has a bunch of games preloaded onto it as kind of a sorry and thank you for spending a bunch of money on a console without a whole ton of games.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of sweet.
Games. That's how I first played and beat Metroid Fusion.
Like that's actually kind of a cool, some of them are virtual console games too, right? Which is
Well,
Also,
originally they weren't.
characteristically,
Originally they were, specifically just for me for ambassading.
Mhm.
But yeah, eventually they they brought it
Launched
to the
other ones.
lowborn.
Yeah, to the lowborn. Now, how highly
There you go. You could share that. You could share that image with everyone.
Yeah.
On my official LinkedIn page, one of my skills is that I am a Nintendo ambassador.
That's awesome. But yeah, like that actually is kind of cool, and that's a little bit of history that not a lot of 3DSs are going to have anymore. I mean, granted, that was already only a temporary thing. I think that those 3DSs are actually going on sale for a lot of money now with the ambassador software on it.
Yeah, and it's literally, you open it up and it's just this like little yellow PNG thing that says you're an ambassador in the same background that they did for like the virtual consoles eventually when they put it in. So it was very much an afterthought, but it's, it's a nice bit of history looking back on to just kind of say that and put it in my resume.
Yeah, definitely. I am going to endorse your skill as Nintendo ambassador right now on LinkedIn. Where's Brad on LinkedIn? Hang on a second, I'm typing your name right now.
I wonder if people could. I hope people can't. Well, it's the internet. They might just find me by doing that. They're just like, who has a skill of Nintendo ambassador, and then find me.
And the endorsement will be Hunter Gooden. So there you go. For me, the 3DS was when I first started getting into competitive Pokemon. Actually, when I got Black and White was when I started really getting into competitive Pokemon for the first time. And I remember actually just battling with Teresa during class when we were supposed to be doing a podcast for the school, the official school high school podcast. We were actually just like playing competitive Pokemon the entire time and just talking.
Mm-hmm.
We were like trying out certain teams and stuff like that. And I eventually, not in Black and White, but when Pokemon Company was starting to push competitive Pokemon a lot more and actually hosting official tournaments and stuff like that. During X and Y, I think, is when I started actually attending tournaments. And when I competed in my first regionals with X and Y, and I remember because I used Mega Kangaskhan at that team. And I didn't do super well at that regionals, but then I forget if it was the regionals after that or the one after that, where it was Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire at that time, and they were doing the GS Cup. So they were allowing certain Pokemon that they normally wouldn't allow. They were unbanning certain Pokemon. Wow. Yeah, it was actually a wild time, and a lot of people didn't.
I was gonna say that sounds like a rough time.
Yeah, basically every team had primordial Kyogre on it. It was a bit of a mess. People didn't really like that as much. I used Palkia on that team. That was pretty sweet. But
Wonder Guard your Spiritomb.
There was some crazy stuff. But actually Spiritomb wasn't as good at that time because Fairy type was out. But anyways, that regionals, whichever one that was in Anaheim, I topped 8. And that was like one of my really big gaming achievements. Was like I really wanted to make it to top cut at a Pokemon tournament. And they go up to top 16, I think 32 now or something. But if I can get into top cut, my name is like in competitive Pokemon history at least.
Nice.
And I was on the stream. I was on 2 different streams actually. I was actually in a stream on my first regionals. I've been on a few different streams, and that stream was the one where I not only made top 16, but once I did top 16, I was like, okay, I technically made my goal. But I kept going because I won my top 16 match into top 8. And it's actually really funny. I faced this guy in round robin matches, and I beat him in round robin, and then we both like shook hands. We were super friendly because the Pokemon community is super nice. Most of them are.
Yeah.
And we were just like, he said, I think, I hope to see you in Top Cut. And I was like, yeah, because it was a great match. And then lo and behold, in top 8, I faced him. We both made it into Top Cut, and we both went against each other in top 8. I think he lost at top 4, if I remember correctly. But we faced each other in top 8, and that was super cool. I lost to him the second time around, unfortunately. Like, I beat him in round robin, And then I lost to him in Top Cut, unfortunately. But because at that point he knew that like my Charizard was choice specs, and like he knew my team kind of. I should have played a little bit more coy, but yeah,
that sounds like your rival from the Pokemon games.
It was like a rival scenario. It kind of was, yeah. No, I was the rival in a way because I beat him at first, and then he came back and beat me. Like he triumphed over me, and I remember I befriended a few people there, and there was like this girl that was like standing behind me, like cheering me on. I was basically Gary Oak.
Oh, cool.
I was basically Gary Oak at that tournament.
That's a good memory.
That's one of my biggest gaming accomplishments. Something that I really, really wanted to accomplish. That I did so on the 3DS, and the 3DS was there for my entire competitive Pokemon journey. And I've kind of slowed down since. I don't really do competitive anymore. Or I'm still super into it. Like I watch all of Cybertron and Wolfie Glick streams and stuff like that. Like I'm still in the know, but I don't compete anymore. Especially since COVID kind of made things take a really big hit for a while. Yeah, I still do some online tournaments and stuff, but for the most part, I'm basically technically out of competitive Pokemon. I accomplished my goal back in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
So if we're talking goals, my best goal for Smash, I beat somebody in top 20 SoCal. I forget his name, but it was at a sanctioned event.
I remember that.
And I remember it was on stream, and I was DK, and he was Meta Knight. And I remember being so anxiety ridden from fighting and playing that they caught me on stream afterwards. Once the match was done and I won, I went and spread myself on the ground for a solid minute of just trying to breathe because there was just so much pressure. I can't even imagine going any further than that.
I remember Robert and I faced at the CalArts regional or CalArts, I don't know, tournament, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
We faced, what was the Smash boards or something like that?
That's the online ranking.
Yeah, the online ranking. We faced against the number 2 and number 3 during the doubles tournament there.
Oh,
and I lasted longer than Robert did, but I think that I got them down to 1 stock each. And I don't remember if I was able to finish one of them off. But yeah, we still end up losing because they demolished me after that. I got like 2 stocks or 1 stock off of one of them after that. At least one. Just after Robert died. So I was just like soloing the number 3 and number 2 in Smash boards.
Yeah, that's probably not a good time.
No. But I basically just kept running around everywhere as Cloud, and then I think I landed like 1 really good down B with the limit break. And then like yeah, I think I did get both of them. Yeah, so I must have gotten 2 stocks off of them. So I got them 1 down to 1 stock, and then 1 was KO'd entirely. But then he came back and like wiped the floor with me immediately. So
do we have anything else that we want to say, at least towards the 3DS and the Wii U?
By the time I got my first Wii U, Miiverse was dead, and all the online was dead, so I don't have any experience with that personally.
Neither did I.
Miiverse was a brilliant mistake that I'm glad they put into Smash.
I wish it still existed, just because I don't even need to play it like that to know what would appear.
Yeah,
it was fantastic to just see like playing Smash Bros, seeing a random post, and it's just like a sad DDD. Why did my father leave me?
What I remember is just like one that I saw online. It was just a person posting, "I wish squids were real," like tagging Splatoon, and then there was a comment that said, "They are."
It's better than Twitter, man.
If Donald Trump had a Wii U.
That would make more sense for him too. It'd be the Miiverse.
The Miiverse.
It's the Miiverse.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's great. I drew a dick. They loved it. Everyone wants to see it.
With my big hands.
With my big hands. Trust me, they're huge.
We're gonna make Miiverse great again.
Make the Miiverse. Make Miiverse great again. Please do.
My gosh. The Wii U at a certain point, because I didn't have the same experience with Smash Brothers because I never got it on the Wii U, like I mentioned. But what it did become was my basically dedicated Zelda machine. Because my version came with Wind Waker HD, and then I got the Twilight Princess HD with the amiibo. I wish I still had the box for that, unfortunately, but I got the Twilight Princess version, and I basically just, I unfortunately never didn't beat either of them because I'd never really picked up my Wii U except to play those games.
And also, Wind Waker's not the best Zelda anyway. It's okay.
Yeah, I gave up I know that they made the sailing way faster for the HD version, for the Wii U version, but still takes forever. A lot of people complain about the Triforce fetch quest, but I gave up before then. Just before the fetch quest, there is a you have to collect, I forget, like a something of fire and something of water in like two different caves. And then once I realized that those caves were on completely opposite sides of the map, I was like, I am not doing this tonight. And then continued to not do it ever.
Never turned on that game again.
That's still where I am. Is like, I just can't be bothered to go across the entire freaking ocean. Are you serious? Are you actually? No.
It's bottom 3 Zelda game in my opinion. I don't know where. It might be the worst. It might be the third worst. I'm not sure, but it's down there.
Wait, so you've never beaten Wind Waker?
No, I know the ending. Oh. I think the ending is awesome, but
yeah, I've seen the ending.
It's too much work to get to that point.
Yeah, you gotta get the fast travel unlocked.
There's fast travel,
and I hear you.
Yeah,
there
is fast travel. You gotta
How do you get it?
Though. You have to
shoot a tornado.
There's like a tornado that spawns in random location on the map. You have to go there, and it's a mini boss fight, and then you gotta shoot it. It's like a wind god or something.
Here's the
fast
catch.
Travel.
Okay.
Here's the catch. It's only at like 3 or 4 places, and it's fixed. So you don't get to fast travel where you want. You just get to fast travel to like some open ocean here, some open ocean here.
Oh yeah, that's
and
true.
You still have to sail.
And for an added bit of fun, if you don't beat the mini boss fast enough, you get launched away from the tornado to a random place on the world map, and you have to sail back to the tornado again to fight him again.
I think that happened to me. Because I remember the tornado that you speak of, and then ever since then I was like, oh, well, that sucked, and then stayed away from it the rest of the game.
Here's the thing. Here's the ironic part. I actually think Phantom Hourglass is like amongst my top 5 favorite Zelda games. Okay. Even though it's literally about sailing. Still. But
I think Teresa would have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, probably.
It's a great game, though. Teresa has bad taste in Zelda games. I'm just going to say that.
Well, here's the thing. In Wind Waker, there wasn't enough to do between going to island, and it just kind of made you like stay focused because the wind moves and whatnot, and like it's just kind of boring. There's more going on in Phantom Hourglass, and at the very least, I can chart my course and just set it down, walk away, and come back.
Yeah, you have to pay attention to it on Wind Waker.
Yeah.
And it's so slow.
It's so slow.
Ugh.
For each console, 1 out of 10, where do you place it on Nintendo's consoles?
Wii U? Wait, just ranking it? Like, not like...
In
what's
comparison?
Above and below it?
Hang on, do you mean like... to give it like a rating? Or do you mean rank it?
So give it a ranking compared to all the other ones.
Oh, the worst one?
Is it the worst one? Because Virtual Boy exists.
Okay, above Virtual Boy. That's not saying much.
The Virtual Boy is officially considered a handheld by Nintendo.
Oh, different category. It's competing against the 3DS then.
Okay, then the Wii U, I would say, is probably the worst one.
Okay.
Or unless you want to consider alternate versions of some consoles, because the Wii Mini sucked pretty hard.
Oh, shit.
Oh, that's right.
Because the Wii Mini,
half a Wii.
Yeah, the Wii Mini.
It looks cool though.
It looks cool, but it launched with Mario Kart, which is a really fun game to play online. And that version of the console does not have online access.
That's annoying.
What a bad, stupid idea. Depending on how you want to consider it, I might place it higher than the Wii Mini.
I would say in terms of enjoyability, and then in terms of like how it did compared to the other consoles.
I think when you find a game that really takes advantage of the Wii U's features, you're going to have a fantastic time. But there aren't that many games like that. There's like a handful.
Well, I guess we're not really doing rankings, but at the very least, like in terms of numbers.
I just
in terms of numbers. But I actually think I'm going to have nostalgia for the Wii U for years to come, because it was the console that I played for my college years and early 20s and late teens, coming out of high school, really. So I think, in all honesty, it is like, if it wasn't for Smash, then yeah, like it would probably be the worst console. But because Smash was there for, at least for me, too much nostalgia is tied to that. It is like probably my top favorite consoles, but only because of that game. 3DS is my favorite handheld, period. Hands down. There's no handheld that beats it. Including the Switch, mind you. Including the Switch.
I'm looking it up now. The Wii U is the worst selling Nintendo home console. Sold, the only things below it are the NES Classic, which they only sold a limited number of. The SNES Classic, which they only sold a limited number of. The Famicom Disk System, which I would not consider a console. It is an add-on.
It's old.
Yeah, that's
only in
peripheral.
Japan.
And the Color TV game,
which is back in the late
their
70s.
Very first video game system ever.
Yeah.
So as far as consoles goes, it is the worst selling one.
And that number is between 11 to 12 million?
13. They did 13.
Very, very close. But yeah, it was pretty bad.
The Game & Watch sold more.
Oh, wow.
Didn't the PS Vita sold more?
I'm just looking at
correctly.
Let me try to filter by Sony.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't think it did. I think
the Vita sold 15 million.
Oh my god, I'm wrong. That's so bad. The Vita was so bad.
Ooh.
I love the Vita.
I know you love the Vita, but come on, man. It literally was just a PlayStation 3 with training wheels on.
But it was a portable PlayStation 3. That's what was so great about it.
Okay.
The 3DS, I agree, is probably my favorite Nintendo handheld ever. The GBA is up there, but I think that I think the 3DS beats it at pretty much every metric. The amount of fun that I had on it, the number of hours of fun that I had on it, just the games that they had on it, including a lot of GBA games.
I will say a close second would be the DS Lite because of the backwards compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
It was very good, but I still think the 3DS is better.
You could literally just have two games in your DS Lite at the same time.
That's so cool.
Or if you had Guitar Hero World Tour, you could have one game in the 3D in your DS and it take up both slots.
I have no idea technology-wise how they made that work.
And there was that the DS Lite camera that you plug into the GBA slot.
Yeah. There was also a rumble controller or something like that, or a gyroscope or something like that they made as well.
On the 3DS or the DS?
The DS. The 3DS had a gyroscope built in and also did not have a GBA slot.
But what it did have was a big tumor-like thing that had an extra buttons. It made it two analog stick sort of circle pads.
The Circle Pad
Pro.
Yeah, the Circle Pad Pro, which completely broke Resident Evil Revelations in how you play that game. The ability to walk backwards and shoot in a Resident Evil game means that you automatically win.
They also had the amiibo scanner for the DS before the new 3DS came out with it. Like with it built in.
That.
There was the amiibo scanner, which is kind of a weird, interesting peripheral. What about you, Gerardo? How do you rank them?
I don't know if I have an answer to this. It's kind of like I put it near the top and near the bottom.
Which one?
Like,
so the
hang on. Which one? The 3DS or the Wii U?
it's like the okay. So I'm thinking of the Wii U first right now.
Okay,
that's what I'm talking about right now. The 3DS is definitely near the top. I think it's my favorite Nintendo handheld, and a lot of it is specifically because I actually use the 3D feature, and I love it.
3D's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just really cool. So that one is definitely like, I think that one's my favorite Nintendo handheld. The Wii U, it's like I said before, I have to have a game that's built for the Wii U that takes advantage of the Wii U's features, and then I love it. Like Zombie U, I love it, even though as far as survival horror games go, Zombie U is just like, it's pretty decent. It's not the best one, but as far as like Wii U games go, it's like one of the best games in the catalog.
And Affordable Space Adventures.
But then, the other like vast majority of the Wii U's catalog is just ports with like some minor added features, or like just worse versions of games that were on like the PS4, for example. I guess I guess I would have to rank it somewhere near the middle, because it's like sometimes I rank it at the top and sometimes I rank it at the very bottom.
That's understandable. Now that we've recovered and had ourselves a little chat, what did you think?
Leave us a comment on YouTube and like the episode.
That really helps us out.
We're also on Twitter and Instagram at the Low HP Podcast, if you want to reach out there.
And subscribe if you want to catch more of us on YouTube.
We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Links in the show notes as always.